Hey, I'm Justice Smith, and you're You fucked me up.
I fucked you up.
Hey, I'm Justice Smith, and you're listening to Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy.
Wake up, Juju. Time to go to work. All right. Can we talk about wake up, I get it, I get it, wake up, I get it, I go with everyone saying I'm up next. It's not my fault that the vocals are gold, that making the haters so upset. My life is a movie, the way that I roll. They saying I'm goofy, but baby, you know I'm making everybody obsessed. Cause we the best, how we get wrecked, and I know we gonna get wrecked, we gonna get wrecked. We gonna get wrecked, we gonna get wrecked. We gonna get wrecked, we gonna get wrecked. We gonna get wrecked, we gonna get wrecked.
All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Juju, aka Straw Hat Goofy, here with another episode of Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy. And with Straw Hat Goofy now, that's a lot of Straw Hat Goofies. I'm realizing that. I'm here with Justice Smith, star of the American Society of Magical Negroes. It's going to be a very interesting conversation.
That is the word of the day. Everyone has been saying it was interesting. Interesting.
I remember first seeing the trailer for the movie, man, and I was just kind of like, oh, they went there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not very often you get the Negro pass and the N-word
The
pass.
Negro pass. Listen, they fought for it. You know, it's the term. You know, it's the coined term is Magical Negroes. So,
Yeah.
I think people didn't know what that term was, so all they just saw was Negro, and they were like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, originally they thought it was like Black Harry Potter.
No, a lot
And
of
I
people
was
do.
like,
Yeah.
"What did we settle for?"
Yeah.
You think Black Harry Potter would be called Magical Negroes? Like, I'm so hyped.
Honestly, like if they made like a spin-off Harry Potter movie with like the one black kid that just appears in the movie.
What's that guy?
Dean Thomas.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And just say, hey,
Yeah.
Magical Negro, bro.
Yeah.
Like we got I'd watch it.
We deserve so much more than that.
Yeah, but talk
yeah.
about that a little bit though, because like when I saw the trailer for this, like it was immediately met with like a lot of conversation of what they thought the movie was going to be about.
Yeah.
And very clearly you're aware of that. So can you talk a little bit about just kind of like the fan reception of the movie being announced?
Yeah, I wasn't on, I try to stay offline because social media is not good for my soul. But,
Me neither.
Obviously I was aware of the backlash and my team was telling me about it. And obviously everyone else on the movie was telling me about it. I'm empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
I was empathetic. At first I was like, damn. But then I was like, specifically with black audiences, like Hollywood has not done right by black people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So of course we're skeptical of what movies about race are gonna be, and there's a real scarcity. I think we kind of have like a scarcity mentality when we see a black film come out into the zeitgeist, because we're like, oh, that's gonna be our only black film this year.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
well, no, black art is like
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, and I mean it should be more obviously, but like it can also be multiple things. Like it doesn't have to be like have this like checklist of like what we've seen before,
Yeah.
But I think like there was a couple controversies, so I don't even know which one you're referring to. But
Honestly, like I didn't even, I try to stay offline as much as possible, even though being like an online personality, so it's like a little difficult, but I do pretty well to just kind of like skirt a lot of those type of things and just kind of like talk about the movie at hand.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, you said, what did you expect when you like found the title of the movie, Black Harry Potter? I'm like, I'm digging the idea of a rom-com that tackles the idea of the Spike Lee coined like Magical Negro. I think that's very, very interesting, right? And I find it very weird, like when you have like movies like comic book movies nowadays and people have expectations and they think it's going to be this, and when it's not, they have problems. This one, I don't think there's a book based off of this, right?
No.
I think this is just a completely original
satire.
thing. Exactly. So
yeah, it was birthed. He originally had like thought it was going to be a sketch, Kobe, and then he was like, as he was writing it, he just started pouring so much of his own black experience into this metaphor, and it became a feature film. And when I read the script, I was like, I relate to this. This is such a like shameful thing to admit, but I relate to this. I relate to the ways in which I've had to make myself small for white people in order to survive socially or literally survive. The classic example is, as black men were taught, when you encounter white policemen, like put your ego aside, put your pride aside, yes sir, smile, be friendly, like we all know that example. So it's kind of just like taking that idea and spitting it on its head. I mean, taking the Magical Negro trope, which are these characters who, only serve white people, like only come to like fulfill their dreams, and using it as like this metaphor for the ways black people have to make themselves have to compromise their identities to survive.
And I think a rom-com is like almost perfect for that because one, it's not as like they use this example in the film, which I saw and I really enjoyed you in that film, but it's not as heavy as like, you know, the usual cop metaphor that people usually go to when they think of those type of like instances, but it's something a little bit smaller, which is as simple as like love, like trying to like find a girlfriend or trying to get a job. And it tackles those little things within the same context of put your hands up, make people feel comfortable, because at the end of the day, this is a guy who just simply wants to be with a girl, but he's giving like a piece of himself up in order to make like his coworker happy. And I like what you said about like making yourself feel small, because like watching your performance in this movie, you could tell that obviously your character is very aware as a black man of what's going on and how he has to interact, but you can tell he's like also bottling it up a lot throughout the film. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like a scene, you know what I'm talking about, on a stage where everything just pops off. And that was one of the most realist scenes that I've seen like in a film this year, of just coming from a black man of just raw emotion, just kind of like, this is what we have to deal with. And honestly, like, and I'm gonna say this right now, it reminded me a lot of the America Ferrera scene in Barbie.
Yeah, I got that before too.
You know, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just laying out truth, you know. And Kobe wrote it so beautifully, and so when I performed it, all I had to do was be honest and present. I was like, I don't got to do no research.
There was like an overlap right there.
This is exactly what I think. So, yeah, you know, the movie's more than just the rom-com. I think like the love story in it is a tangible example of the ways in which he's had to compromise and sacrifice. But you know, that monologue in itself is not about the love story at all. It's about about his position in the world.
It's about finding himself. That's what I really like.
It's about finding himself.
Yeah.
And it's about you know, he exists in this vicious cycle that I have been familiar with. Growing up in a homogenous white environment in Orange County, California.
Oh, you're from Orange County.
Woo! Red County, white city. Okay.
I grew up in Compton, so you had a similar but different experience to me, because I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. No, I did not have, let's say, reference for what black success looked like, for what it meant to be a black adolescent, like growing up. Like it was in my hometown in Anaheim, it was mostly Mexican, which was a little bit easier because, you know, brown, raw
people
brown.
Get it, yeah.
You know, like I wasn't being bullied for being black. I was being bullied for being a nerd. You know, so I was like, okay. But then when I went to this art school, this like in Santa Ana, but it was like with all kids from Irvine, all these like white kids from Irvine who were the offspring of like really conservative parents, but they were like trying to be liberal artists, but you know, that's the world they grew up in, so of course they're gonna say some shit. Like that's when like I became so aware that I was a black man in America. Well, I was a black boy in America,
right? Because
I was being or at least like the detriments of that. Like I didn't experience like the joy of being black in America.
Right.
I didn't experience that till much later, but I internalized a lot of the messaging that I received from my white peers, and there was so much self-hate. There was so much without language to explain what was happening to me, you know. And it was only after high school, after I left Orange County, that I was like able to connect with the community and like define my blackness for myself and like have that empowerment. But throughout my adolescence, I understood Aaron's vicious cycle. You know, I understood this character's vicious cycle of, I feel so uncomfortable, and I can't explain why, but I feel so uncomfortable. So my tactic is to appeal, so that maybe I'll feel less uncomfortable. But then indirectly, that's now allowing them to continue to disrespect me,
right? Which
then makes me more uncomfortable.
Feeding the beast. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I knew how to play those layers, and I mean, it's funny that like he's in that vicious cycle, and then in a twisted way, it becomes a talent of his when he gets indoctrinated into the society, which is the satire part.
Right.
We're not saying appease white people, okay? Everyone on Twitter who hasn't seen the movie.
I mean, the movie isn't saying that very clearly. I think it makes a very clear like point.
I think but people were triggered by that. You know, they were like, why would we want to see appease whites the movie? Like, why would
watch
we want
the
to
movie?
Like, watch it. Obviously, that's not the message of the film. There was this
Some
one.
people may learn some stuff, man. Like, I'm just saying.
There was this one. I don't read reviews, but like someone told me about this one review, and so far a lot of the reviews have been good, but there are it is divisive. You know, it's a controversial fucking film.
I mean, but I feel like when it comes to film in general, like a lot of our personal experiences play into how we view a movie. Right, like there's some movies that I just 100% was just like, this film is like trash. Like, not to like get super off topic, but The Invitation, can't get into that movie at all. Yeah, couldn't get into it, and it's not that the movie is bad. It's just that as a black man, I couldn't see myself in that situation. Right, like it's like group of white people. Clearly, they're like, this is a cult, and then they get surprised when the cult starts doing cult things. I'm like, I would have been out of that as soon as I saw like the weird guy that's not part of my friend group just hanging out, you know, saying weird things. So I feel like a lot of like personal experience plays into that, and I feel like when it comes to a lot of like critics and reviews, and you know, we're talking about this movie, that experience is going to play into like how they view this movie. It's going to be like, I didn't get it, I didn't understand it, and like people like me and you, like it hits on like a different level because, as you said, you're acting it, but you lived it.
Yeah,
and
but
I'm watching it. Yeah,
you know, it's not as divisive across color lines though. Like that's the gag, is that it's, you know, there's white critics who love it, there's black critics who love it, and there's white critics who don't get it, and there's black critics who don't get it. You know, and there was this, you know, a part of that. I'm not saying this is everybody who doesn't get it in terms of black critics, but this is a really confronting message. You know, doing this press tour, there's been a lot of people who voiced like, I do this and I don't want to admit that. There was this one man who said, I was uncomfortable watching the movie and I didn't know if I was uncomfortable because I don't see myself in this, or because I do see myself in this, and I don't want to admit
different ways of uncomfortability that this movie kind of hits you at.
Yeah, everyone wants to be Malcolm X. We all want to be, especially in the black community, we want to be the radical. We never compromise ourselves. We're black and we're proud. And those are the movies we see. You know, when we have movies about race, it takes place in the civil rights era or slavery era, and at some point it shows our hardships. It shows, you know, how we're victims of these systems, but then we overcome it somehow. Right. We're empowered somehow. And Kobe wanted to champion the people who've just survived. You know, like it's okay that you made yourself small, and like in these moments, it's not your fault. It's the system's fault. Right. You know what I mean? And I know I could have used this film when I was a kid. Absolutely. When I was growing up in that environment, I could have used this film to be like, oh, I'm not alone. Like I'm not. Like a lot of black people experience this in white spaces. Oh, absolutely, dude. I just told you like how like you and I had like almost like the reverse experience, because you grew up in Orange County, like predominantly like you said brown, like kind of community. In my immediate, but then when I went to school, it was mostly white kids. Right. So I grew up in Compton, and then, you know, went to college, and then I ended up going to like work for this advertising agency in Playa Vista. Super white space, right? And as someone from like Compton, like fully black through and through, it was hard for me to adjust and be in those spaces. And looking at the setting of the film, it was like a visceral like reaction of just like, oh my God, I've been in this space where I had to kind of like tiptoe around everybody, watch what I say. Like I've said things that I would say in my hood all the time, and then I get the side eye, and then I'm just kind of like, okay, now I got to switch that up, right? And then dealing with like the almost like they have to create these like meetings and these like activations in-house to prove that they're you know, accepting of everybody. And so like watching this, like I feel what you're saying is like, I'm someone who survived the people who fought for me back in the day. We're normal people just like living in this society, and I feel like more films like that is what, like you said, Kobe really wants to do, right? So I really feel that. I mean, like that is the satire. Like that is and on top of it, it's a comedy. Yeah. Like there's a direct press story of like, we're talking about heavy things, but it's also funny. Yeah. Like it's a comedy. Yeah. But I think the reason why we have to talk about all this stuff is because it's a really nuanced message that he's trying to get across, and it's confronting, and it's triggering to white people, and it's triggering to black people. And there's like a lot of, when I was in Atlanta, there was a lot of people who connected with the film, and there were people who didn't. And I think a lot of the people who connected with it were black women, and there was black men who connected with it as well. But the most resistance we got was from black men, and I think it's because as black men we don't want to admit moments of weakness. Yeah. You know, we are constantly expected to live up to this masculine standard and to like see ourselves being represented as soft as like my character is a yarn sculptor, constantly apologizing, making himself small. Like that's confronting, and I believe that there are black men who's like, I have never done that. I would never do that. I believe that. And for them, I'm like, great.
Right.
But some of the reactions, it almost felt defensive.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this has hit a button in you. Like that like I'm happy that you're now gonna go home and like explore, and maybe that's just like through hating the movie and whatever and thinking about all the reasons why you hate it, but at least it started a conversation within your body,
which is what like a movie with a message like this is supposed to do, right? It's to get that reaction, to make you feel something, and then like hopefully like marinate on it, and then the movie's did its job at that point. That is the goal. Anyways. Well, to get out of the heavy really quick, man, like you said, this movie's a comedy. Like, what were some of like those moments in the film that like was obviously there's a lot of situational moments here that like obviously ties from real life. Like, what were some of those, like, without spoiling a lot, situational moments that made you go, that is good? Like, I really want to bring that to life.
When I first read the script, situational moments, like which specific scenes you're talking about?
Yeah, is there like a specific scene that just made you like cackle where you said like, I gotta bring this to life and make people like feel how funny this is?
I mean, there is. I don't want to spoil them because they're really good, but it's funny because like I didn't even really, when I was reading it, I didn't even really think about the humor of it.
Right.
Like I think I do a lot of movies where like a lot of comedies and stuff like when you're playing comedy, you just play the truth of it, and if it's funny, it'll play. So I think like the comedy isn't what really drew me in. It was the overall metaphor, and like I think about one of my favorite scenes to play was, I'm also always looking for like flawed characters, and we can get into there's a whole reason why I look into flawed characters that I want.
We're gonna get into that because there's some flawed characters I would like to talk about.
Okay, great. And but there's a scene where we're in the bar. It's me, my love interest, and my client.
Yes, I know the one.
Yeah, and he's explaining why people of color didn't make the team. And
I thought about it for a minute.
It's a conversation that I've had before, and like and their response, these two people of color, their response is to make him feel better, this is their friend, and they make him feel better even though he's slighting them, he's disrespecting them, and then they have to unpack that in the car, and it's just about like, and I'm like, this is so fucking, this is tea. Like, this is what we do. Is like when I'm with my friends and we're navigating white spaces and we're like, and we go in the car and we have to heal. Yeah, we have to sit there and heal,
hold space for each other in that moment,
and being like, what happened? Like, why do I feel like shit? Why do I feel so bad? Like I wish I said this, I wish I said that. Like that was really, like, that was one of the most powerful scenes to me, and that like kind of sold me on it.
I like that scene a lot. Like, I remember watching it. Mind you, I'm like watching it in bed, so I'm just like, I hear the guy says, I thought about it for a full 5 minutes, and I went, this motherfucker. Like,
and now I'm over it.
I said, if I had like a nickel for every time I heard some shit like that, like it really like hit on a different level. Exactly. Before we go any further, I have like 2 Gatorades over here because we're G. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, would you like red or blue?
I would like, I would like red. I was literally I was looking at them the whole time. I'm thirsty.
I was like, I didn't get this guy something to drink, but I remember I did have some forethought and said, let's get the good stuff. Let's get the big one. So you got the choice. Also, I remember I was at a press junket for Dungeons and Dragons. You were in a room with Sophia, and you screamed out about some cookies, and I was like, this guy loves some cookies. So I also went down to the snack room. I got you some Chips Ahoy.
Thank you.
That we can just eat and chill. And
this is amazing.
You know?
I can't eat it right now. So
I'll eat it right now. You eat it. It's my show.
I got my Invisalign in.
Oh.
So but when I eat things, I have to do this whole thing. I got floss and brush. And then,
okay.
I got like a month or 2 left.
I'll eat it for the both of us then.
Yeah, it's funny because on this whole tour, it's like all these cameras are like up in my face, and I'm like smiling or laughing, and like all the comments on the videos are like, "What's wrong with his teeth? Why you got braces in?" I'm I'm like, stop, leave me alone.
I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to make better for you guys.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, man.
Trying to get my teeth right.
Guys, leave him alone.
Yeah,
okay.
leave me alone.
You look good. You always look
good.
good.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
All right, so I shouldn't have did that because now I got to talk. I was going to see this backfire in a major way. But I want to play a little game, and I don't usually do games, but like,
okay, cool.
I feel like you're a homie. I feel like at this point, like we've seen each other enough. We've been at parties and we dance together. We're homies now. So this trope, the Magical Negro trope, was coined by Spike Lee. Right. Yep. And for those guys who don't know, since we've been talking about it for like 25 minutes now, it's a trope in Hollywood where like there's a quote unquote magical black person who serves only to like appease white people or like help white people. So I'm going to name some names and you let me know if they're a magical Negro or not. All right.
These are names from film?
Name from film.
You're messy. It's so messy. Literally like all of our like in our press talking points are like, try not to name like other films that which you did, and I'll be in the interviews being like, it's this one, it's this one, it's this one. Okay, let's do it. It's fun.
All right, great. We're doing the. The movie already lends itself to it. So, yeah. All right, this is my favorite one, and it's number one, Kazam.
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen Kazam?
That's with where he's a genie?
He's a genie. Yeah.
I saw the poster on the plane. I was gonna watch it.
Ooh.
Is he a magical Negro? I mean, who's the main character of the movie?
Little white kid who's just trying to see his dad.
Magical Negro.
Magical Negro. Got it. See, I would argue, I would say yes, but I would go with the argument of he's kind of a genie. He's like an otherworldly being who's taken the form of a black person. So is he
Magical Negro?
Magical Negro?
Yeah.
All right.
Same with like that one movie, Bruce Almighty.
Oh,
it's like, it's God.
Yeah, but
no, it's a magical. There's a reason why he was cast, because these white people are like, I want him to take care of me, because they see us as that. You know, it's the like the mammy trope or the Uncle Ben trope.
Right,
you know?
right. Oh,
like,
yeah.
Take care of me. Like, give me wisdom from your experience.
He doesn't. He's not even on my list. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, he's totally like that.
Yeah.
Like now that we've gotten that out the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So next up, have you seen The Green Mile? You haven't seen The Green Mile?
I know of it.
I will.
Yes, that is classic Magical Negro. Right? I don't watch a lot of Magical Negro movies.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'm just
that's how radical I am.
Well, this is gonna he's like, yo, I never did it. Like the only time I watch is when I'm in one and it's a satire.
Yeah. Exactly.
We'll tell you what. I'm gonna name some names and you let me know if like they're familiar to you.
Okay. Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
Okay, but Green Mile. Fun fact is like the name of Michael Clark Duncan's character in it is John Coffey.
John Coffey.
John Coffey.
I don't even know what to do with that.
Stephen King, man.
Crazy.
He's wrote a lot of things. He's
literally magical in it. Right?
Yeah.
Literally. That cupping thing is a
Green Mile reference. which we could talk about some of the we won't because it's spoilers, but the references like in that opening, great, amazing. This was interesting. Hitch. He doesn't have powers. However,
he's also the protagonist.
He is the protagonist.
He's helping a white guy, but it's revealing his own flaws. Like he's flawed. I don't think that's magical.
Okay,
Negro.
He was listed in Wikipedia as a magical Negro.
I don't think so.
Okay, great.
Because he's centered. He's helping this guy, and in helping this guy, he's learning how he's wrong. Like he's more of a human being than a classic Magical Negro. Magical Negroes, we don't really learn much about them.
Right. They're just kind of like off to the side. They're just kind of like, we don't.
What we do learn about them is only to further motivate the white protagonists.
Cool.
Like in their like sometimes it's like, you know, it's like it's the transference of like, my black struggle is so hard, but I got through it. You can get through the SATs or whatever.
Well, in all fairness, he does do that because like he like has a girlfriend, gets dumped, and he's like, I'm gonna help like these people, but then he breaks out of that. So I would argue maybe he was a Magical Negro at first, but this is the first movie where we saw him break out of the trope by the end of the movie.
No, I think for him to be a Magical Negro, he has to be the whole time.
It has to be.
Yeah.
All right. So this is how we like put lines in the sand.
Exactly.
All right. These ones are fun because like I feel like, and when we talk about satire and spoofs, these movies have done like the Magical Negro trope as well. And the big one is, have you ever seen Not Another Teen Movie?
Like a long time
A
ago.
long time ago with Chris Evans and all those guys.
Yeah.
There's actually 2 Magical Negroes tropes in it.
Really? On purpose?
Hilarious. On purpose.
Yeah.
Mr. T as like the sports football guy who literally appears out of nowhere to give him advice.
Yeah.
And then you have Dion Richmond, shout out to Dion Richmond from Sister Sister, who plays a character by the name of Malik, who is just the black best friend.
Black best friend.
And
That's the evolution of the Magical Negro.
Right.
I played the black best friend show.
Yeah.
I played,
You know?
It's again, it's the same thing, except they're not magical, but
Not
it's
magical,
still
but it's
in
the
that
evolution
vein.
of it, right?
Mhm.
Like, they're just there to support, don't really know much about him. And he's like kind of fighting to stay the whole, because he's like, I'm the black guy in this party.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
funny. That's very funny.
Which is really good. I remember there was a scene where like he runs into another one. He goes, "What are you doing? This is my party.
That's
These are
like
my
that Key and Peele sketch. There's a Key and Peele sketch. Where
people keep
this is
talking
my
about
group
that. I
of white
haven't seen
boys. Yeah, the acapella group.
That's great. All right, last one, because I know we got to talk about the movie. I'm looking at eyes. They're just like, get back to it. Eddie Griffin has done it twice. And you would say he's like in the evolution of it, which is like the supportive black person helping the white person. Eddie Griffin in this movie called The New Guy.
Okay, never saw it.
It's about this guy. Who
I don't
goes
watch
to-
movies apparently.
I'm a movie guy on TikTok.
I mean, I
That's
know
my
that's your whole
thing.
thing, but apparently I've never seen a movie in my life.
That's what Get Wrecked is about, man. I'm giving you all the wrecks.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what-
There you go. There you go.
And then Eddie Griffin is also in Deuce Bigalow.
Male Gigolo? Oh, I think I remember him in that. Again,
Yeah.
saw that like when I was very young.
Yeah.
Which I should not have been seeing. when
No,
I was young.
I saw that movie very young too. And it
Yeah,
shouldn't
is he a
happen.
Magical Negro now? I can see him so clearly, but I don't remember what his character is.
I will say that he's a pimp that teaches Deuce how to be a pimp. And he literally just
I mean-
pops out in random moments, like almost magically, and
Yeah.
then he like jumps into bushes and disappears and does things like that.
That's crazy. I
Yeah.
feel like that's fucked up for other reasons.
It's messed up for a bunch of
Yeah,
reasons.
yeah.
But you could tell that it was almost in and of itself like a commentary on that trope.
Yeah,
because he's
yeah.
almost like aware of it.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
That's
think that was
cool.
pretty funny.
That's cool.
And then very very last one, Will Smith's genie in Aladdin.
Listen, you didn't say Will Smith's main one, which is Taylor Bagger Vance with Robert
It's
Redford.
on the list, but I had to like
That's
go down.
classic,
That's classic.
Magical Negro trope. Like that
Dang, Will
is
Smith.
the most magical Negro that has ever magical Negroed.
Yeah.
But Genie in Aladdin, I don't know. That's a good question.
It's a good
probably.
question, right? I feel like he could have, like, he's blue for the most part. Like,
Yeah.
like it's not like God where he's like in that thing the whole time. It's like, I'm Morgan. Plus, I think that was born from the joke that we see Morgan Freeman as God, or he has the voice of God.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no other person we're gonna get. Whereas like Genie is like, he's like this entity, this like celestial being that's like, I'm gonna just be Will Smith because
You know, at the end of the live action one, which wasn't the original, he gives him his freedom, and then he marries that Nassim
yeah.
Pedrad, right?
Yeah.
So like that's kind of his own story. I feel like maybe Will Smith was like, we gotta add some of this in order for it to not just be I'm helping this guy.
Will Smith
And
is
also
the
the main character isn't white.
True.
That's also part of it.
Yeah, he's helping in
It's gray.
Yeah, it's a
Gray
gray
area.
area. I think they did. Okay, we're gonna say right here and now, no on Genie. We're gonna say
I'm gonna say maybe.
maybe. The mystery still continues.
yeah.
All right, but so speaking of this, so leading up to this role, right, and like you the way you describe this role, it's like it's a way of you to kind of like reconcile with yourself how you grew up, how you've like reacted to the world around you, and then you're able to put this out into like an actual role where you can give that to other people. You just also mentioned that you also played like in a way the evolution of the Magical Negro, like other roles,
The black
like,
best friend.
the black best friend, right? Like if you want, you could talk about those roles. If not, like, is there anything when playing this role you was like, I gotta leave that behind, right? I gotta leave like the black best friend role, or did you take any of that with you?
Absolutely. I mean, me and Kobe, when we were like talking about how Aaron was gonna do his modern version of the Magical Negro, you know, like there's that scene where he's trying to do like the old dialect and he's trying to like use the metaphors from before and it's not working. Like we were always like trying to gauge like the performance. Like I was like, is it like more like Cuba Gooding Jr., like Show Me the Money, like charismatic, like you got this, man. Not saying that that's a Magical Negro movie.
Yeah, of course.
But or is it more like, you know, Mahershala Ali, serious, like inspirational, like you know, I'm speaking truth into you. You know, I remember like that's kind of like the axis that we were like going going off of. And so I think, yeah, definitely like I was playing with like, I mean, essentially Aaron is Black best friend, but with powers, which makes him a magical Negro.
Which makes it cool though. I like those powers.
I mean,
computer.
Yeah, exactly. yeah, it's fun. Yeah, we were talking about the quality of the way he's helping these people, and like in order to like really make this critique on film and this like trope. It was an interesting discussion. Yeah,
I'm really like, I wish I was a fly on the wall in those rooms of like the discussions. Was there anything that maybe was in the movie that you was just kind of like, I want to kind of like play it this way? Like, you know, did you use some of your own experiences to like kind of like pull rank and say like, no, I think we can like do it this way? Was there any like changes?
Yeah, Kobe was incredibly collaborative, and he encouraged improv too, which I always prefer when I work.
Right.
Because in order to make it as real as possible, which is my job, you got to massage the language. You know, you got to people got to talk over each other. You got to have those vocal fillers. You know, so I actually, I don't know if I said this yet. My original involvement in the film started at the Sundance Lab. So Kobe invited me out, and we were just workshopping a couple of scenes. And then that was, I think, 2019. And then, like, over a couple years, I would go to Kobe's house and improv some stuff and, like, rework some scenes. And then he called me in 2021 and was like, hey, the movie's greenlit. We're going to go ahead and do it. Do you want to be a part of it? And I was like, yeah. And I was actually older, because when I first was involved, like, I wasn't old enough to play it yet.
Right.
So it actually all timed out perfectly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so there's a lot of my improvs that made the final cut of the movie, and the biggest note that I had for Kobe was his acceptance of magic, like because I knew that the audience had to relate to me, and in the original draft, the character Kobe was like, okay, they're gonna get the conceit from the trailers, like let's just get into the society,
right?
And I was like, well, Aaron has to still be grappling with the fact that magic exists. You know, before he can really get to the like society of it all. So that was kind of my main pitch, you know, just making sure that we had those like bewildered expressions and like those lines of like, I want to go home, and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. So
it's the Harry Potter of it all. It's like you got to introduce him to Hogsmeade.
It's the I'm a wizard.
It's the you're a wizard. Hey, what? Like, you know, and I like those scenes a lot, because, you know, if a guy just kind of appears and he teleports you somewhere, you're just kind of like, the fuck, just, you know,
exactly.
So I'm glad those were in there as well.
Because people have to relate to me, so I have to react the way the audience would react in those situations.
Right. Cool. So what I found very interesting was that your love interest in the movie was biracial, right? And then you guys kind of like layered in like that like form of living, and then like the relatability, as you said, like whenever we in real life would see those things, and then we'll go in the car and kind of like decompress. What was it like kind of like working with her? Did you guys have conversations on these type of things? Like what did those conversations go like?
A lot of conversations. I mean, Kobe was really intentional once we finalized our cast about making sure it was serving the larger message, and he always talks about like it's important political work to spotlight and feature dark-skinned bodies. That's very important political work, and it's political work that both me and him are passionate about. And in this specific piece, he felt like it sharpened the critique to have a character, to have an actor as light as me who's biracial, to have a woman of color who's as light as Lee, who's ethnically ambiguous, who's biracial, to like navigate these spaces as like acceptable people of colors. Acceptable people of colors. You know how black people always add an S to the end of everything? Oh, you were in Generations. You were in the Jurassic Parks. No, but you know, like we're like by white societies, like people who are lighter are viewed as like friendlier, and like they get more of like they have more privileges and like all this kind of stuff. And I think what he was commenting on, the whole message of the film is that palatability won't save you. No matter how you talk, you dress, the music you listen to, you can assimilate as much as you want to. You will not get a seat at that table. you know, and I think like featuring our bodies kind of sharpen that critique.
Right.
It's like if even them, who are the most acceptable versions of people of color, can't get in, like it's a false promise. It's a false promise.
See that, and that tells me that it was very like, obviously like he chose you for the role, but like there's a reason, right? Because that like adds to the message of it, right? Like,
I mean, I also look very much like him, and so
yeah,
you know, there was conversations when initially when he wanted me to be a part of it, like he had conversations with his producerial team where they were like, is Justice black enough, you know?
Yeah.
And Kobe was like, well, this is a movie about my experience, and so I want to feature somebody who looks like me, you know? And that's also why it was such a cathartic experience for me, that because I never worked with a director who looked like me. I never worked with a director who just fundamentally understood me without explanation, who had a similar upbringing to me. It was powerful.
That's incredible. I've been wanting to like really like talk to you about this as well, because I feel like you mentioning that you never worked with a director that looked like you. One of my favorite things that you have done was The Get Down on Netflix. I love The Get Down.
Thank you,
man. It was incredible, man. And you were like, I just want to say, you got to play a young Daveed Diggs. I don't know how many people could like.
No, that's right.
I think there's only maybe 2 people on the planet that could like claim that,
very funny, yeah.
Which is really great. But Baz Luhrmann, like, talk to me about like working with Baz versus like working with Kobe. Like, obviously Baz like crafts this world of like hip hop. It's like in New York, and like there's like such an energy to it, but it's a very like cultural thing versus like working with Kobe, who like lived your experience like actually.
Yeah, Baz I love. Baz is an incredible director.
Great.
I always relate to directors who direct through character. You know, I don't want to be thinking about the fact that I'm on a set, that I'm, you know, that we have 3 more takes, that we have another setup. Like, I don't want to be thinking about that. I want to be thinking about the circumstances of the scene. You know, I want to be immersed in the moment. And Baz was all about like intention in character. And obviously he is the artistic genius that he is. So for the most part, I felt safe with Baz. You know, like there is always a layer of, when I work with white directors, there is always a layer of like, you don't fully understand. You know, that's just me with every white person. You won't ever fully understand. But Baz did a great job at bringing people on his team who were from the Bronx, who were like around during that time. You know, all my like rap mentor, like Curtis Blow is one of my rap mentors, and Grandmaster Flash and Raheem from the Furious Five. Like these people were constantly surrounding me, making sure it was authentic, and you know, Baz, he organized that team. Like, he understood that he could only get into this world so much, and that he was gonna need help. So I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate that from an ally. You know, I appreciate that from a white director. You know, with Kobe, it also helped that The Get Down wasn't about race.
You know,
it touched on race, like, but like it was about like the power of the black community, John. It was about like the ways in which we create art from nothing, like we create culture from nothing, you know. So in that way it was about race, but it wasn't like I didn't have to have direct conversations with Baz ever about like, you know, the way that this white person is viewing me, or well, actually later in the series there was conversations like that, because I go into the corporate world. Remembering that now. But that wasn't, Baz didn't direct that episode. But yeah, anyways, but yeah, with Kobe, you know, with this movie about race, that was like about my specific racial experience in this like very like specific, you know, microaggressive corporate racism. It was nice to have somebody who just like got it like deep down, so that we didn't have to. So when we were doing the scenes and exploring the scenes, there was a shorthand we could have. You know, we didn't have to go into a whole philosophical discussion about what it means, or, you know.
That's really, like, honestly, like, how often do you have like shorthands with like people that you work with? Because I can imagine, making a movie, as difficult as it is, like in order to make that, there's a lot of conversations that need to be had to get the character right, to get scenes right, like that. But how comforting is it to have like that shorthand, and as opposed to like, was it the most comfortable that you've had?
Yes. Yeah. Kobe was one of the best, if not the best, directors I've ever worked with. Not just in the sense that I felt so seen by him, but also the set was so well organized. Like, it was the smoothest set I had ever been on, which is very rare because, things are constantly going wrong. Like, schedules had to be moved around, scenes had to be cut. But it was he allotted so much time for the actors to play. He organized that. He put that in. He baked that into the schedule so that we never felt rushed. Like, he prioritized performance over anything, and knew how to like talk to each department head and value them as artists. And even though he had a clear vision, like listen and invite them to have opinions about what's going on. And so everybody wanted to do their best for him.
Incredible.
Which is what you want from a director. But your question was, how many directors do I have that shorthand with?
Was there any other directors that you like had a shorthand with? Like, you could just name one that just like you said, like, oh, this person like the compatibility is crazy.
I've worked with a lot of directors who I really love. I guess if I didn't have a shorthand with them on like racially,
of course.
if we viewed art the same, I felt safe. I've also worked with directors who are hyper technical, and we don't have a similar opinion about art, and so that was a little bit more of a struggle and required more communication. But I'm very blessed to have worked with people who care about character.
You've done a lot, man, and I've been watching it. How much time do we have left?
Probably over.
We're probably over.
So, like, one more question.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to the big question of this whole podcast, because this is Get Wrecked. And what I like to do is I like to learn a little bit about you based off of like a movie that you saw that like changed the game for you. So I asked you, man, what is like that movie that changed your brain chemistry, that kind of became the building blocks to who you are?
God damn, that's so much pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. That's why I love the question.
I have so many movies. Can I just name a couple?
Yeah, even better.
So Boogie Nights is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I just saw that for the first time last year.
It's one of my favorite movies. I always revisit it. It's so well done. It's so well done. Love him. Love. I really like The Exorcist. I'm a big horror fan.
Yeah.
A lot of movies have really changed. Like, what's honestly Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Thank you.
That fucked me up.
Thank you.
That changed my life. I saw it 5 times in theaters.
I was like 3. I was a 3-person.
I took everyone I knew to go see it. I cried every time. I just was like, this is the kind of shit I want to be making. Like, this is like, it's irreverent.
Yes.
But it's like, how can a movie that has dildos and butt plugs and hot dog fingers like make you cry, like touch your soul?
It was a win for creativity, like all across the board,
all around.
Like, I remember when that movie came out, and I ran to my TikTok and I said, legit, I said, if this movie is not nominated for minimum like 10 awards, like, it's a loss for creativity for us, because not only was it able to be irreverent, not only was it able to be surreal, but it was able to tell a very affecting human, like, gut-wrenching story that everybody could relate to, with the dildos and the weird hot dog hands and stuff like that.
It was the perfect balance of what film should be, which is that it should be true and it should be entertaining. I
love that, and I'm glad that you said that, because again, I feel like it's one of those movies that, like, throughout the test of time, people should go back and say, if you want to get into film and like you want your mind to just kind of like run wild and inspire at the same time, Everything Everywhere All at Once is that.
Yeah, fully.
I will also say, like, have you seen Swiss Army Man?
Yeah. Great.
I tell
soundtrack,
people,
amazing.
That was amazing.
Best soundtrack I've ever heard.
The montage song, like, I listened to that like.
Oh god, all the time. I literally, like, I had it on my playlist. Like, that whole year, that was all I was listening to. Was the album.
Yep. Now we're building a fire.
Oh my god. Don't even get me started. What's also kind of just changed my brain chemistry recently? Poor Things.
That's my number one like Oscar like thing right now.
I hope it wins everything.
I really do too.
That's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
That was my number one movie of the year until like I like had to do like a rejigger, and like it's like Spider-Verse Poor Things.
I didn't see the Spider-Verse.
I love Across the Spider-Verse, and again, that's like the bias in me because I love Spider-Man.
I liked the first one, so I was scared to watch the second.
I think you'll love the second one. It's a middle movie, so like it like sets up like another one.
My friends didn't like it that much.
Really, I have friends who love it. I have friends who hate it. I think you should like watch it, give your opinion on it. I think it's like cinema at its finest.
Okay.
I think it's all right. What Metro Boomin does with the soundtrack, what it does with like art and animation, it pushes the boundaries. It's I think about that movie and I like get moved.
Oh, you know what I just watched? Okay, I'm literally giving so many answers to your question. I just on the plane I watched Origin. Did you see Origin?
I didn't see Origin yet.
That is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Really?
It's not because it's a genre all of its own. It's like a narrative documentary.
Really?
It is so. You know how when like movies. Like you don't want them to be didactic. Like that's the one you're like, don't talk down to me. This movie is didactic and you want it to be. You're like, please teach me. Like the way that it's structured is like she's so passionate about teaching that you're like, I will sit here and learn. It's like you watch it. It's such an interesting genre.
Okay, I think I don't know if it hits streaming, but I'm still a person who will go and like rent it. Like I will rent the damn thing and like watch it because everyone's been talking about it. I was like flying like all over the world at this point, so I didn't get a chance to like stop somewhere and like check it out. But now that you're telling me, it's definitely on my list.
Beautiful film. Beautiful.
All right, for sure. Well, shoot, thank you, man. Like this has been a great like show,
appreciate
bro.
you, man.
Real talk. All right, guys, that's it for Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy. I'm here with Justice Smith. Make sure you guys check out the American Society of Magical Negroes. In theaters. Like when is the release date? Like plug yourself, bro.
March 15th.
March 15th, man. So it's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy. Like remember that. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe. Make sure you like follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. It doesn't matter. And we will see you next time when we talk about the next movie.